The Simpsons are the latest victim of cancel culture, a Chinese Communist Party style. An episode of the long-running animated comedy, which first aired in 2005, has been purged from screens in Hong Kong. Its removal may have something to do with its content, which sees The Simpsons visit Tiananmen Square, the scene of the infamous and bloody suppression of pro-democracy protests in 1989. Well, the episode in question shows that sign that reads on this site in 1989, nothing happened. Joining me now, Brendan O'Neill of Spiked Online. Brendan, welcome to you. I mean, we know, don't we? We already know the answer to the question, do totalitarian dictatorships have a sense of humour? Of course they don't.
No, absolutely not. And that joke in the Simpsons episode from 2005 was absolutely brilliant. You know, it was a classic Simpsons joke. The whole Simpsons family went to China. They went to Beijing so that Selma, Marge's sister, could adopt a Chinese baby. And they're walking through Tiananmen Square and it says, on this site in 1989, nothing happened. And the great irony now is that Disney Plus, in its streaming service in Hong Kong, has deleted that episode off The Simpsons in order to appease the rulers of Beijing. And so the Disney Plus has done what The Simpsons was ridiculing. It has memory hold a historic event, a cultural artifact. And essentially what it's saying on its streaming service is, on this streaming service in 2005, nothing happened. You know, it's just been completely forgotten about. So for a supposedly woke Western corporation to engage in this CCP-style form of cancel culture, I think that's pretty shocking.
In terms of the cost-benefit analysis of the thing, though, I mean, in putting pressure on Disney Plus to ditch this episode, there's always a danger that somebody at Disney, or just somebody who's a great fan of The Simpsons and realises that episode 16 from series 12 is missing a vital episode, there is the danger of the blowback. You know, you end up with, guys like us talking about it in the UK and people elsewhere. For why? Is it really so damaging to the sacredness of the Chinese Communist Party that this silly, this skit should be there embedded within an episode of The Simpsons?
That's the question. Why are authoritarian regimes so touchy, so sensitive? Why can they not take a joke? I mean, that is the fundamental question at stake in this discussion. And, The Simpsons was banned in China for about 10 years, from about 2005, after this episode aired, through to 2014 when they came back. All foreign cartoons were banned, actually, but The Simpsons was clearly a part of that. And, the thing is that it just brings attention, as you say, it's the Streisand effect, the Barbra Streisand effect, as people refer to it, where when you try to crush something or shush a discussion or distract attention from something you don't want people to be talking about, it just attracts more discussion, more debate, more controversy. And that's what's happening in this situation. And in Hong Kong, where Disney Plus has now launched as a streaming service, there are people in Hong Kong who are finding that this episode of The Simpsons is missing. Hong Kong is a fairly restless population. They've been agitating for their democratic rights over the past few years, and they've been brutally suppressed by Beijing. And I'm sure lots of the people of Hong Kong are not impressed by the fact that Disney Plus seems to be conspiring, essentially, with the Chinese regime to deprive the people of Hong Kong of certain cultural content. So it's going to have a huge blowback. People are talking about it, and I think it's going to be egg on the face of Disney Plus.
And do you know what? It's just from the point of view of the apparatchiks and the commissars in Beijing, it's just so naive, Brendan, to do this because, have they learned nothing from history? That late 1980s in Eastern Europe, samizdat texts suppressed. What happens to them? Works of literature which weren't always particularly good suddenly had this sort of sacred quality because people knew they were banned. They were on a list of prohibited books. We know how that works, don't we? You end up trying to suppress something and it blows up in your face.
Yeah, and it's such an extreme form of suppression. You will know this, Colin, from your years of reporting. But when I was in China, I've been in China about 3 times. And when you search for Tiananmen Square on search engines online, it just brings up a blank page. I mean, it is the most brutal form of information suppression that you can imagine. It just completely blanks everything out. There is no information at all. And of course, that causes huge blowback. People become curious. People want to know why this is happening. And I'm sure in China itself, there are large numbers of people who are asking questions about this event and are curious about the fact that it's the one thing that you will be completely suppressed if you ever try to raise. So there's a real problem of censorship and authoritarianism in China. Chinese citizens don't have basic rights, but it's pretty shocking for Western corporations, especially those that claim to be so woke and so interested in social justice, to go along with this. And that's a betrayal, I think, of people in China and people in Hong Kong.